On the A+ exam, you will be expected to know about the major categories of display devices that are used. And what we're talking about here are the monitors that we use with our computers and the technology that's used to create the displays or the monitors that we use. Now there are 6 main display types that are covered on the A+ exam, and here they are. First of all, there's the CRT, the LCD, the LED, plasma, projectors, and OLED. So let's take a look at each one of these individually. Now the CRT, as you see in the picture here, it's the old TV type monitor that we used to use everywhere. CRT stands for cathode ray tube, and what I'm going to do here is kind of give you some words and terms that you can kind of use for triggers to determine exactly what kind of display they may be asking you about or referring to. And so just use these basic words and descriptions here as pretty much all the information you need about the particular device types themselves, and we'll go a little deeper into things like resolution and refresh a little bit later on in separate videos. Now the CRT device, display device, was really a large vacuum tube that used an electron gun and a fluorescent screen, and this electron gun just kind of basically painted the image on. And let me go back to that just a moment. The CRT was all we had for a long time, but it was subject to all kinds of problems: flicker, burn in, it was just all kinds of situations. There was a fair amount of radiation emitted by some of these things. So CRT was the earliest, and it's pretty much been done away with now. You still see them from time to time, but you hardly ever see new ones anymore. LCD is liquid crystal display. This is what a lot of us see as monitors everywhere. It's also called a flat panel. Now what an LCD does is it utilizes the light modulating properties of liquid crystals. And so it's basically a little layer of liquid crystals with a backlight that's shining through these. And the crystals do not emit light directly. Watch for any kind of terminology about the crystals not emitting light, then you're talking about an LCD. And why is that important? Because when we talk about an LED, now we're talking about a light emitting diode. And the little diagram you see here is a simplistic representation of how a light emitting diode works and what's going on inside there. And if you want some fascinating reading, go out and read about this. But the bottom line is they're just going to pack quite a few of these little things together and then kick off colors. This is also called a flat panel. LEDs look just like LCDs. They tend to be more contrasty. They have all kinds of different characteristics. Some people love them, other people don't like them so much. But the key word to watch for here is electroluminescence. That is what they utilize, the electroluminescence inside the diode to actually emit the light. And the diodes each emit different colored lights based on how they're manipulated. Now these are very energy efficient monitors. So you're seeing a lot of LED flat panel TV screens now, a lot of computer monitors, and again they look very contrasty, very bright, but they have a little bit smaller range of view for a lot of people. Then, and by range of view I mean how far off to the right or left you can look at it and still see a good clear picture. Now plasma, this was one that came out very early, and this could also be referred to as a PDP, a plasma display panel. And this utilizes small cells that contain electrically charged ionized gases. And if that sounds familiar, just think small fluorescent lamps. That's exactly what we're looking at here. Plasma is still out there, and it still gets a lot of people's attention. Different people look at plasma panels and say, wow, that looks really good, it looks really sharp, and they like them better than LCDs or LEDs. They're also now some of the least expensive monitors out there. Early models experienced burn-in. They still get a bad rap for that, even though since about 2006, 2007, it doesn't happen anymore with plasmas, or not, at least not to the level it did by any stretch. But the big kind of a disadvantage about plasma is they're the least efficient when it comes to power consumption. So just keep that in mind and watch for those kinds of situations on the exam. Now our projector, an LCD video projector, you see these things everywhere now. They utilize metal halide lamps. Watch for that terminology as a trigger that you're talking about video projectors, metal halide lamps. These things produce 2,000 to 15,000 lumens, and if I remember correctly, like a 60-watt bulb, somewhere around 800, 840 lumens. So projectors have become the standard for conference rooms, teaching situations, displaying to large audiences, and those sorts of things. And we'll probably talk about those a little bit more later as well. Now, OLED is the one that's getting a lot of attention now. We keep hearing about it in prototype situations. OLED stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode. And here's the big deal about that. Just like you see in that picture, it is flexible. Electroluminescence is part of a film of organic compound. Microsoft's talked about these for years, a display that you roll up and put in your pocket and take it with you, and then unroll it when you get where you're going and read your computer screen. This is used right now, by the way, to produce displays for monitors, mobile phones, handheld games, all sorts of things. But you're going to see a lot more out of OLED in the future, and you're going to see some pretty wild display type devices out there over the next few years. But anyway, that's the main list of your display devices. I've given you enough key terms and kind of trigger terms in here that should help you be able to figure out what they're talking about on various questions on the exam.